Hello, my name is Nate Blank, and here I have my eFolio to share with you all. Before I get started, wanted to say how fun it actually was to look through all of the assignments and see the growth from the last 2 years. I was thinking and telling my wife last night that some of the assignments that I completed 2 years ago probably wouldn't have been up to par for today's assignments, and that just goes to show the growth that I have seen in myself and noticed in myself over the last 2 years. Um, First, I would like to start off and share my functional assessment, hypothesis, and interview. This was actually the first time I had been able to complete an FBA and run the whole process. I have worked in an autism center for the last 3.5 years now, and I've known what an FBA was, but I've never actually been able to be a part of one and see how it works. And so this was really cool and eye-opening to be able to complete one myself. With that, I think one of the most important things to look at was and is the specificity that you need to have. You need to be specific in the questions you ask parents and other staff members, specific in your observations and recording what you observed during an FBA. You need to be specific in what you write down during the interview and how that works. And this all just helps to determine the function of behavior and help lead you to the BSP. So yeah, the specificity in ABA and with everything in this field is really important. Next, I'd like to move on to the supervision feedback packet. Like I said, I've worked at the same company for a few years now. However, in the last year and a half, I was promoted from an RBT to a lead RBT. Basically, that brings on the responsibility of overseeing client caseloads and also managing staff members. So this class was a huge learning experience for myself as I was still learning how to be a manager. Obviously, the class is directed towards being a BCBA and supervising those potential BCBA candidates, but I felt like I was able to connect many things that I learned in this class to what I'm doing with work today. The biggest is using BST to teach staff members. Obviously, you learn it on how you can teach kids and clients specific skills and behaviors, but I never thought about using it in the eyes of a supervisor. And this was really important as I am training clients all of the time, or training staff all of the time. My main role is to make sure that staff members are implementing programming and behavior support plans correctly. So before I knew about BST with staff, I was always modeling and giving feedback and providing all that stuff. And it was really cool to kind of have that light bulb go off, or like, oh, I do this, but I have a name for it and I know exactly the correct steps to implement it properly now. And that was a really cool class to experience as I was learning, not only in school, but also in my work field. Next up, we have the positive behavior support plan. And this was a challenging project for myself, an eye-opening project, but a very rewarding project. I felt like it made me have a lot of patience in figuring out how to graph properly and graph results on what we see when we are observing and creating BSPs. It made me look more closely at how to write goals and the specificity of defining a behavior and the predictor strategies and the teaching strategies. But my biggest takeaway from this project was and is the competing behavior pathways. I think that this really lays out how to look at behavior and how to define behavior really well. Starting with like the setting events and the antecedent, and then moving on to the desired behavior, the problem behavior, and the replacement behavior, and finding the consequences for each of those. And then once you have that, you can figure out what modifications you can make and how you can modify the antecedent to decrease the problem behavior and increase the replacement behavior and the consequences that come with both of those. And I think this is a really easy way to lay out exactly what we are looking at. And I plan on using this plenty of times in my future, as my goal is to become a BCBA. Finally, I'm moving on to the research-based lesson plan. And this was really awesome to be able to pick apart a research article. And it just goes to show how important it is to always continue research after you have graduated school, for my example, or once you become a BCBA. Things change all of the time, and it's always important to stay on top of the best practice and whatnot. And so this was really nice to be able to pick apart an article and use the article and the research behind an article to develop a lesson plan. This article was about kids, or a kid who was increasing social skills. And so as I work with a lot of kids with autism, our biggest goal is to increase social skills. So I definitely plan on bringing this up to my BCBA, my supervising BCBA, to see how we can increase social skills with some of our more non-social clients. And it was really cool to be able to see and use this to create a lesson plan that is very easy to implement throughout everyday session that I have. So yeah, that's all I have. And I look forward to my future and want to thank all of you guys for developing and creating such a positive learning opportunity for myself, and I'm sure others in the cohort. So thank you.